All right, welcome to the show today. My guest today is Ryan Lindsey. Ryan has a diverse range of experiences. He's built an online personal fitness brand. He's had a wholesale fruit and veg business, a cooked breakfast delivery company. He's also written 2 books, and he's even built a meditation app. And today he's a data analyst at Cuvva, which is a UK-based insurtech startup which is disrupting the car insurance space by offering car insurance on demand for infrequent drivers. I want to bring Ryan on the show to discuss what he's learnt from his past business ventures, what it's like working at a company disrupting an industry as archaic as the car insurance space, and what his plans for the future are with some of his side projects. So Ryan, welcome to the show.
It's great to be here. And sounds a lot better when you say it like the way you just said it. So it sounds a lot
Glad I could do that. But yeah, I wanted to start off a bit with your background and your story, just to give the audience a bit of a sense of who you are and what you've done in the past. So I was curious if maybe we could start when your time as a lettings negotiator, because from what I understand, your life was quite a bit different back then as it is today. So maybe could you just start and talk about that experience and that stage of your life?
Yeah, sure. So I'll kind of give you I guess like a run through. It's like quite diverse and varied, and it kind of does jump around a lot. And then we just talk about anything that jumps out or bump me along at any point. But I guess it's kind of like when I was at college. I kind of like, the only reason I went to college in the first place was my parents always said that uh, as soon as you come out of education, you have to start paying rent. And so I was like, well, I don't want to pay rent, so I'll continue doing education. But then I wanted to earn some money, so I had like 3 or 4 part-time jobs on the side. And I was very salesy at the time, so I loved like, yeah, sales roles. The stock market was the biggest thing for me at the time. And so yeah, I was massive into the stock market, and this was when the 2008 crash happened. There's lots of like easy money to be made, and so I was like really into like trading my own money, and then other people started trusting me with it, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And I didn't want to go into the stock market full time, but I did want to get more into like sales roles and like just trying to learn a bit in those areas. And I mean, there was no real desire to do anything specific. So I was like, oh, lettings is easy to get into. So I jumped into lettings business, and it was just super easy. But yeah, the hard thing is like just ripping people off. Like there's a reason why people hate estate agents. And it's totally true. Like so yeah, so it was just more led that I wanted to get into sales, and then I did that and realized that I don't want to be in sales. Um, and then I guess, but it was very simple. So when I got given like a pay rise, I said, well, I quit, and they was like, why? And I was like, I want to start my own business, and I always had this entrepreneurial spirit, like kind of a lot of people, I guess, when I was younger, and I wanted to like jump into that more. And yeah, and so I just thought I'm going to quit now, and then I didn't really know what I was going to do. But that was when the fruit and veg business thing came about, and that was just through uh, my time at college. Or Saturday was,
So the fruit and veg business. Yeah, what was how did what made you want to jump into that? I guess it's kind of a random segue from lettings negotiations to fruit and veg.
yeah, a little bit. It was nothing. Once again, with the lettings negotiation, like negotiator, I just wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what. So I just thought that was like an easy in to do that. Very easy to get started. And it just evolved around like going to pubs, restaurants, and trying to build up business, which is very easy to do. So I just did that. And it was easy money, I guess. It was just like, and then like hired someone to work for me and then just kind of build it up. So like at this point, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew is I wanted to build a business. Um, and it was a bit chaotic. And then so then the next thing I was like, oh, let's try the next thing. And we went out for a night out with our friends, and it was everyone was hungover on the Saturday, and they were like, oh man, I wish someone make cook breakfast or like deliver it to us. I was like, what? You'd pay for that? And they were like, yeah. So I was like, okay. But I'll set up a Facebook page, and if 500 people like it, I'll set it up as a business. Um, and then and they did. So I set it up as a business, and then I called it the hangover cure. So I thought it was quite topical. And this was before a lot of companies were doing like cook delivery, like restaurant delivery.
Yeah.
So it was like pretty unique at the time. But then I was then working over 100 hours a week, 7 days a week, and I'd just burnt out. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of done. And
Yeah.
had a good amount of money in the bank, but I was like depressed as hell, I think, probably at that time.
Is that when you were working those crazy hours, like you said, 2 a.m. till 6 p.m.?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. It's because you're kind of in the mindset, like, oh, like we live in a world where everyone's like hustle hard, work hard, blah blah blah. Um, and that was the mindset I was in, and just kind of disregarded working smart or anything like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I was like, I'll just get out of that. And this is when I was like just turned 21. So I just got to the drinking age in America, and I was like, I'll go out to there and chill for a bit. So I just kind of chilled out in California for a couple of months. I had like enough money to kind of decide what I wanted to do. And then yeah, decided with my friend that he wanted to quit his job, and he was a pretty cool guy. And I said, well, why don't we write a travel book? Or maybe he suggested it. One of us suggested it. And yeah, and we were like all up because everyone was saying how expensive travel is, and we was like, it's not expensive. So let's just show everyone how inexpensive it can be. So we thought we'd write a book about it, do it ourselves, and then to show that it's possible, and then write a book about it. And that's called How to Travel the Land for Less than a Grand. It was really fun, and that got like national press, and like sold a few hundred copies and stuff. Paid for the trip. Yeah, it was like a mini success for us, and it only took 6 months to travel, do all of that, have a great time, learn some marketing, how not to launch a book, not to launch a book, and yeah, it was really good fun actually.
That's good. How did you get national press for that book? That'll be interesting to know how you did that.
So that was fun. So that was probably my first thing into like partnerships, I guess, and definitely something I would have done more of at the time. So. Are you aware of like ride sharing or like
Yep.
Yeah, great. So there's a company out here called BlaBlaCar.
Yep.
I'm not sure if it's in your side of the world, but
It's not, but I know of it. It's sort of like kind of where if you're driving somewhere, you say where you're going, and then if someone else needs a ride, they can come with you. Something like that, yeah?
yeah, exactly that. Yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
So a lot of people use it between cities. So like London to Paris would be a good example.
Yeah.
And it may be like £20 or £30 for that journey. And so that was like a great way of like as a mutual partnership. One, it was the cheapest form of travel aside from hitchhiking. And two, like it just worked really well for them if they had a really cool story to push. So yeah, so I just kind of reached out to them. That was actually for a contact. A friend of a friend knew someone to like start the conversation. But yeah, I think the headline was like best friends in like I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but it was yeah about how we travelled on average for about £12 a day. And yeah, and they wanted to push it, and so I would definitely would have relied more on partnerships like that. But that was the main source we like on the national newspapers and stuff. So yeah, it's just a smart way because a lot of people have great ideas, but it's how you distribute those ideas.
Yeah.
As like you can have the best product unless you can distribute it well. It's a bad idea.
100%. I think a lot of people miss that. They miss the distribution side of things.
I definitely missed that back then. And it's one of the learnings that I'm having now at Cuvva, which has been great. So yeah, so that was a really interesting experience. And we'd talk to people about it, and they're like, "Oh, it's such a great idea," and it's like, but like my biggest learning that the idea can be great, but the execution and the how you distribute that really is just as hard as coming up and doing the idea. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's yeah, you see everyone's got the next Uber for X industry, but how many people can actually execute as well as Uber did is a whole nother question. So I totally get that.
Yeah, that's true. And then like you can see a theme here arising where I just like sway around and do lots of different things.
Yeah.
But it's all based around like business or starting something. So the next one was no different. I came back and straight after was like, because we were thinking about doing like the next version, which would be like how to travel the land for less than £1,000, but in a different continent. So maybe like how it compares to if you went to like Thailand or Australia. The how you do it and how long you'd last would like change drastically.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about doing that, but we just kind of burnt ourselves out with the current book. Because we went from the idea of it to traveling for 2 months to actually launching it all within a 7-month period. And the book got rewrote twice in that time frame. So it's like, yeah, it was pretty nuts.
Where'd you learn to write a book? You just made it up, or?
Pretty much. So it was in the whole time. No one ever knows like really what they're doing, I guess. So we knew it'd be in 2 parts. One part, the first part would be our story of like how we did it.
Yep.
And the second part would be like how you can do it too.
Yep.
So like all the tips of doing it and really breaking it down as like, this isn't just like unique to us. You literally anyone could do that. Sorry.
Good.
I'll turn that on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. So we knew there'd be 2 parts to the book. One would be our story, and the second part would be exactly how anyone else could do it themselves. And then but what that would look like, we had no idea. But then we was writing a blog about it before we launched it to build the audience, to get some sort of audience before we launched it. And that was where the book was pretty much based off of. So like every day we'd write a blog post, each of us, and then like the book kind of got built off of those blog posts. But you don't really learn how to write a book. You
Just do it.
you write the book and then learn how not to do it, and then the next time you want to do it, you do it a lot better. I guess you can go through like a publishing agent, but like normally you need proof that you can do it first, and then that's like the next step. Because we want to do this quickly, we just didn't. We just kind of thought we'd try out ourselves, and I'd definitely do the same again next time, I think.
Yeah, it's awesome. A lot of good books seem to come from that sort of model where someone's writing a blog post and then it sort of just becomes a extended curation of those blog posts. 4 Hour Workweek is one that I can think of that was like that. So yeah, it's cool. It must have been a good experience.
It makes a lot of sense from a business point of view as well, because you don't really got to create like as much effort in as you would have had if you had to write a book from scratch. Do you know what I mean? You've already got the material there. The book is just another way of distributing the same content, I think.
Yeah.
100%.
But so then after that, that was when I've always been into fitness and I'd always trained people, and then massive segue once again, and then I just thought, let's try and make some money off of this, and then and then it was building that up, and I was a personal trainer for a while, like just in a gym, but I just wanted to scale it more and have a wider reach. So that was where I looked to how I could build a personal brand, and I didn't want to be called like everyone else's, which was, it would be like Ryan Lindsey Fitness or something, just like your name, then the word fitness before or after or PT. It's kind of lame. So my different approach was have a great body, but it's also about your mindset as well. So it's about mental as well as physical health. And so it's kind of like a lot of people are like, oh, it's like wishy-washy and fit like a hippie. And so I was like, okay, I call myself the fitness hippie. That sounds good to me. And it kind of stuck with people. Like everyone would remember that name. So I mean that worked out quite well. And I don't know if you're the same, but I was massively into Gary Vaynerchuk. the marketer. So
Yep.
I just kind of watched a lot of his stuff, and from the previous one where I'd learned the idea can be great, but you need the distribution. This new idea, I just worked more on the distribution as opposed to the idea. And then and that was where I built a lot more of a following. So like I built being over up to about 13,000 followers on Instagram. I had a podcast. I had live streaming every day. I had a blog that I can't remember. Pretty much most platforms I was on every single day posting, and had a really engaged following. And they would buy books from me and everything like that. So I created like an online ebook.
Mm-hmm.
And so I learned a lot more about the distribution side of things. And that was going really well. And I was like, wow, this is the one. This is the one where I make it. I was like so pumped. I was like, I'd been failing for like, when I say failing, like I hadn't turned them into a sustainable business for like 4 odd years now. I was like, this is the one. And it was all going in the right direction. But I kind of just burnt out. Like it felt so close. And I just thought, well, if I just do those 100 hours again, our work weeks, if I just push that, then I'll get there quicker. I definitely got there quicker, and there was burnout, sadly. And I just burnt one through my money, and two that I'd saved up from like 4 years ago from the fruit and veg. And yeah, I just kind of felt like lost a bit of the love for it. Just kind of lose appreciation. I get very obsessed about things, and that was my most excessive time, I think. That's quite interesting.
So what I was curious what you think. Do you think if you would like maybe approach it a bit more sustainably in terms of like the time and effort you put in, then you maybe wouldn't have burnt out, or do you think looking back it just wasn't the right path to go down? Do you have any thoughts there?
Well, I'm definitely glad how it has turned out, definitely. But I've learned a lot from that and all the other ones before, with the whole burnout and the obsession phase. Because obviously at the time I didn't know that was a thing. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened, obviously. But yeah, I would definitely always approach it differently going forward, to understand. Just get a better balance. So like now, for example, I have a thing where I just always make sure I literally have a whiteboard. I'm just like so obsessive about stuff. I just need like I need to be treated like a dog, basically. I just like have a whiteboard in front of me. And it's like, you need to spend time with family, do personal development stuff, business stuff, eat, be healthy, and like not let them go too many days without doing them, like all of them. And so I basically like tick, 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 X, and if I X it, then I have to do it, kind of thing. And so that was kind of my new coping mechanisms for not burning out and getting too obsessed.
It's good to have a system like that in place. I'm sure it would help a lot.
Yeah, it's basic, but it works for me. So that was that, and I reckon it could have worked out. I definitely think it would. It was going in the right directions. The metrics were there. But by the time, I just fell out of love so quickly with it. And like I say, I've been jumping around from everything. The thing that is the same with everything is I just love the idea at the time, and then there's no like underlying this is my life's work kind of thing. It's just more like this is a cool idea. Can I turn it into a business? Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then I kind of after that I was like, wow, it's been 6 years now of like failing on all these business ideas. So I was like, how can I improve it so that doesn't have how do I get past this stage? Am I just going to continue doing this for the rest of my life till I hit one and one works, or it doesn't work and I do it forever? Or is there something I can do differently? And I went to Amsterdam because every smart idea is generated in Amsterdam. And then just chilled out for a bit and did some mushrooms and decided that I was going to work for a company, for a startup, like a small startup, because I came to the conclusion I need to learn a bit more. I need to, like work out my flaws, like work with people smarter than me, basically, to learn from them. And then when I'm ready, I'll jump out on my own again and do that.
That's a key point. It's worth highlighting, I think, because a lot of people, like even yourself, you like a lot of us are the same. We want to start our own thing and we want to dive in and do it, and it's great and you learn a lot. But when you're doing that, you're learning on your own time and your own money that you're having to invest and potentially lose. But if you work for someone else, you're learning, but it's on their dollar, which is basically just a win-win, really. You're learning from people smarter than you, and you're learning on their dollar as well. So there's definitely value to doing that before you jump into your own thing, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I would highly recommend it. I highly recommend like honing your skills, because you're always I think if you're like entrepreneurial or into that kind of thing, like you're always the optimist. Like you have to be the optimist to do the thing that fails like 99% of the time, and still believe that you're going to be the one that makes this work. So first of all, you got to know that you are the optimist, and which means that you're going to shrug a lot of things under the table, and so you're going to think, yeah, I can do this, but then actually understand like why can you do this? Like just really, if it's not working, some people can pick things up and it just works. But if it doesn't, maybe you need to work harder at it, smarter at it, or maybe it's just like surround yourself with other people that are doing it or doing a lot better job than you.
Yeah.
And then learn from them and then do it yourself, makes a lot of sense. So that's what I decided to do. So I got back and then applied for 5 companies, and the next day started this one. Literally, it was like applied for it, and then they're like, yeah, sure. And it was 5 people back then. So Cuvva. So this is where I'm currently at. It's been about 2 years, 9 months, maybe, like coming up to 3 years.
Yeah. Could you maybe just explain just quickly what Cuvva is, and then maybe just why that appealed to you as well?
Of course. So Cuvva is we're changing in who we are. Is because we've reached the next stage of growth. So, but Cuvva was an hourly car insurance company. So and we sold insurance that you could buy for 1 hour to, borrow a friend's car to go on a road trip for 1 hour at a time. And it takes about 20 seconds on a mobile phone. So, by the time you could step out of the car, walk around the car, into the driver's seat, you could be insured and be that quick. And
because tell me about, because I think it might be a bit different in the UK, but so from what I understand, before Cuvva existed, if you wanted to drive your friend's car like just an hour down the road on a road trip, as you said, what was the process you had to go through before Cuvva? You had to like call a call center, sit on hold for an hour, and then like pay for like a whole year. Is that kind of what was happening before Cuvva came along?
Yeah, so it was a horrible process. So insurance laws differ country to country. So how it works in the UK is that you insure the person on the vehicle. You don't insure, like I think in like America, for example, you insure the vehicle and anyone can drive it. So Cuvva would be useless to them in America. In the UK, the person is insured on the vehicle. So, if your friend wants to drive it, they aren't insured. So they need a separate policy or to be added onto a current policy. So the process before was you had 2 options. One was the current policyholder had to ring up their insurer, then say, I want to add my friend, and sit on hold, for probably like 10 minutes. But I want to add my friend to the policy for minimum of like a day or a week, which then would then cost, maybe 50 quid, maybe 100 quid, whatever it is. Maybe they'll have an admin fee as well of £15. And then, maybe they can add them, maybe they can't. And it would be like a half-hour process. Or you would go the other route, which would be they would go to a website, spend 10 minutes filling in forms, then buy a minimum of a day's worth of insurance, which would have been like £30 plus, and then get insured. And it would be such a long amount of time that you would want to do that for ad hoc things like borrowing a friend's car to just drive them home, or go for a road trip, or even just to pick someone up from the airport. I don't know. Like it would just be
Yep.
such a pain that no one used it for that.
Yep.
And so that was the problem that the founder of Cuvva had. Um, and he was wanted to solve this. Is like it should like we can order anything at the top of a button. Why can't you just get insurance at the top of a button? And there was no reason why it shouldn't be done. So there's a lot of technical reasons why it had to be changed, which they basically we're basically now rebuilding the back end of the insurance industry, which is kind of fucking awesome. In a weird way. I never thought I'd be excited about insurance, to be honest. It's not something I was, but it's kind of cool. It's like the problem that we're solving is kind of huge, and it's such a pain, and everyone
I
hates
can
it.
imagine.
Pardon?
I can imagine it would be a massive problem.
And now you just get people that, and they'll be like, "God, Cuvva's amazing," and it's like they're like, "I love it." Talk to my friends about Cuvva, and it's like we're an insurance company, and people are like raving about us. Like that's weird. Do you know what I mean? Like that's when you know you're doing something that's like worthwhile. I think.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
yeah, so that's it. So it was like to sell an hour of insurance on a phone, for road trips, for I don't know, whatever the purpose is you want to borrow a friend's car. Maybe it's a night out when they're drunk and you need to drive them back.
Yeah.
Um, and there was four people in the company before me, the two founders and two other employees. No, three other employees, and then so as the fourth employee, first full-time marketer, and then it was just like, how do we distribute this to enough people? And it's trying to solve that problem, and luckily we've been lucky enough to solve it, and now we're about 60 people,
Mm.
and the company's growing, and we'll be about 100 to 120 by the end of this year, which would be really
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
It's amazing.
What was the time frame between when you started and 60 people? Was that a few years or?
So I joined in July 2016,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so now
It's amazing.
we're April 2019. So yeah, just under 3 years. But it's accelerating. So it's you kind of double every year. So it's like 5, then 10, then 20, then 40. So it was 40 at the end of the start. Though it was 36 at the start of this year. And now we're near double. Well, we're like 60 now already in April. So we're adding about 10% of the company every single month at the minute.
Yeah, right. It's crazy growth. What's it like being one of the people who was there basically from the start? It must be a pretty cool position to be in to see this crazy growth, and sort of see it all the way through. Must be an interesting experience.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Like, it's very lucky. Like, you I don't, I guess, really appreciate it, but you get to see every area of the business because day one, like, there are no processes, none
Yeah.
at all, and you only build them as and when they're needed. And so, and there isn't someone designated for one job. So I was doing marketing, but I also did the customer operations and reporting to the board and all sorts. So you just get to see every area of the business, and it just gets more and more specialized as it gets bigger. So it's really cool now. Like people come on now, and they're like, I know I've jumped around in every single area of the business, so I like kind of know it inside and out, which is been a really lucky experience. So it's kind of like nice to see it grow, but then you also in the other dilemma of like the people that normally start it are not normally there when it's like 200-300 people, or they're just less likely to be there.
Yeah.
Because you joined because you wanted to solve a problem and you kind of solved the business problem there, and now it's about scaling it, and it's like now it's like the dilemma is, do you want to do that, or do you want to find another problem that's starting out another 5 people, or something, or your own thing, and do you want to like build that and use the experience you've had, and I'd say that's the thing I'm at now. I'm like, this growth is crazy, but is it, do you want to take that knowledge and start again, or do you want to build on that and keep pushing and pushing? Because it still feels like day one of the company. This is very early.
Yeah. What's your? Do you have any sort of frameworks for making those kind of decisions for yourself? I read that one thing that you you talked about was something that Jeff Bezos came up with, the regret minimization framework. Is that something that's useful to you?
Yeah, I think this is really fun. So this is something, yeah, like you said, Jeff Bezos came up with a regret minimalization framework, which is essentially, when you're 80 years old and looking back on your life, um, you have to ask yourself the question: would I have regretted not, or what would I have regretted not doing, or like I've regretted not taking this decision? So it's kind of just like taking that into every day-to-day thing, I think, or maybe not day-to-day, but like the bigger questions.
Yeah.
I found that like really refreshing because it's just like, I know it's cliche, but you do have like one life, and it's just like, why not just like maximize it to the full? And so I mean, there's quite binary things. It's like, well, I clearly should do this because I'm definitely going to regret this, or not. I mean, I don't use this to like pick a packet of crisps or something for lunch, but but for a lot of things, I will, and it's tough to do. But I set out with Sunny, a previous guest of yours on the show. We kind of built off of that to kind of like build a bucket list, and then we like micro that down. So like we say, if we were to die at the age of 80, what would we have had to do, or like at any age, what would we have had to do to have lived the best life possible? And then we have this massive list, and then it's broken down into sections like fitness, like business, family, relationships, whatever it is that you think is important to you. And then break that down year by year, and then you might have to order it. And that's kind of like the framework me and Sunny currently use. And like since doing that for the last couple of years, it's been massively beneficial. Mainly to just keep fucking doing stuff all the time. It's so easy for like 4 months to go by, and you don't do stuff. Still procrastinating on something where you could be like, always. There is never a point where you're like, aha, I have the answer. Now I know how to answer this. But it's just you just have to make decisions in the point that you are, which is never the perfect point. You just have to make those decisions and move on, because when you look at the list of stuff that you want to do, there's so much. The time not to. So I would say it's not a perfect solution, but it's definitely the best one I have.
Absolutely, it's just a good mindset to have, really. And I love what you've done. You kind of, what's one of my favorite books is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, and one of the things he says in that is begin with the end in mind. And I think that's so powerful, because you begin with the end in mind. You say, when I'm dead, when I die, what is the things I've wanted to have done? And then you kind of work backwards. It's like, all right, if those are what I wanted to have done when I'm 80, what do I need to do when I'm 70? What do I need to do when I'm 60? And you just work backwards, and you kind of break it down. Because otherwise, as you said, like, it's so easy to just let one day pass by, which then becomes 2 days, which then becomes a week, which then becomes a month. And before you know it, another year's gone by, and then 10 years. So you have to really be deliberate about actually making that sort of stuff happen. So I love it. That's a great framework.
Yeah, it's interesting. Do you have anything that you use, or?
I tend to use that thinking as well. So I haven't actually done any sort of exercise like that it sounds like you and Sunny have done, where you actually write down and sort of like have concrete examples of things you need to do. So I think I might actually try something like that. But for me, I just mostly think about a good tool for me has been as well to really like there's kind of two reasons we do things, I guess. We want to either move towards pleasure or move away from pain. And so a lot of the time when you're looking at doing something, for me personally, it's usually pretty uncomfortable. Like, it's easy to just stay in your daily routine, and it's harder to actually push yourself outside of the comfort zone and actually do that thing you want to do. And so it's harder in the moment, but then long term you're going to be better off for it. But we as humans, I think a lot of the time, find it hard to think long term, and oftentimes we're just thinking about what's the short term easiest route. And so one thing I do that has helped me is to really visualize, like, into the future. So there's this hard thing I want to do. Like, an easy example is just like for example, working out. Like it's in the moment, it's not always fun, like it's hard, but long term it's going to help you. So if you're at that point where you're like, should I go to the gym or should I stay at home and watch TV? And you've kind of got those two options, and the staying at home is a lot easier. You can sort of visualize yourself like in 10 years time from now, if I don't do this hard thing and I like keep putting it off, what's my life going to look like in 10 years? And really try and like create this like sense of pain of how like bad your life's going to be. Like you're going to be overweight, you're going to be you're going to be just not healthy, you're going to die quicker, you're not going to see like your grandkids, all this kind of stuff. So if you can really like create that sense of like pain from a visualization, that's helped motivate me to do things that are uncomfortable in the moment. So that's helped me.
Nice. Yeah, that makes sense. It's just like, yeah, that's a good one. And you're like, yeah, you just like take it to the extreme. Like,
Yeah.
if you think of it like, oh, it won't matter if I miss one gym session. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
if you missed it for 40 years, yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, cool.
That's cool, man. So I'm curious, so that sounds like a really awesome opportunity that you're working at Cuvva. You sound like you're a linchpin in the business, and that's going really well, which is great. Do you have any other sort of projects you're working on at the moment? Because I know, as someone with an entrepreneurial itch, I'm sure you're up to some stuff on the side as well. So can you talk about any sort of projects that you're working on outside of work at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So there was two things. So for the first like year and a half maybe at Cuvva, I didn't work on anything, or year. I just like so absorbed in that I was like, this is so cool. And then the itch came back, I guess, as you put it. And then my friend Sonny came up with an idea for a meditation app. And it was completely different to one that I'd heard before. And it was, and it solved the problem that I pretty much had, was just like, it's very easy to just wander off in a meditation.
Yeah.
And and his idea was pretty much instead of wandering off, you focus on something within the meditation, which seems to be actually what a lot of up and coming apps are doing at the minute. So it's like, instead of maybe like thinking about something which is very hard to imagine, which is like a lot of people say, close your eyes and picture a candle in the middle of your sight and focus on that. This is more like there will be a sound, there'll be like a beacon noise at randomized times, and then at the end of the session, you will have to then count out, just say how many that you heard, and then it will like score you on how focused you were within that session or how present you were. And so that was something I worked on with Sonny. So he had the idea, and I didn't know how to code or anything, but I was like, I want to learn to code. That's a great thing to learn. So I was just like, give me a weekend, and I thought I could build like the basic version of this, like just like not an app, but just like, well, you press a button in it and it works. It's like, and so yeah, as I did over the weekend, that was really fun. And then we're like, cool, let's put this into an app. And we did that for all of last year. So we built it, progressed it. It was more just around, I wanted to learn a new thing, which was like coding, to get into that. So when I do, like, hopefully this would be something that I can build on. It was a very good skill to have.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I built on that with Sonny. And thing better, but I struggled to see how I could keep adding enough value to the project. And so I just kind of speaking to another friend of mine that was also toying around with a few ideas, and he's a writer. And one problem that he has is he gets a train every day to London, which is a 45-minute train, and everyone's sitting there asleep or doing whatever, but he wants to write. But he's not at the minute. He's written multiple books, but at the minute he isn't writing a book. But he wants to be in the daily practice of writing. So it's like, what if there's like an app or book or something where every day it gives you a new prompt, like maybe it's a written one or an image, and you build a writing short story off the back of that. And it was like, that would be so cool. And then there was nothing out there at all. And he was like, dude, we need to make this. And then I was like, that is so cool. I was like, I can't even write, but that sounds so good. And I looked into it online, and because you want to see if is there anything out there for this or whatever. And there is nothing doing it, but there was one of the biggest subreddits in the world is a subreddit called Writing Prompts.
Mm.
And if you want validation, interested in your idea, the fact that there's a subreddit out there, which is one of the biggest ones in the world, which is probably the only one of the biggest ones, which hasn't currently got business built around, is this one.
Yeah.
13 million people following it. And every day, like people just submit these prompts and then people write stories off the back of them. But it is a horrible experience. It's not like there's so many problems wrong with it and
Yeah.
why it should be actually built into its own ecosystem. And we started building that. He came up with the idea in November. We launched it in January, and now we have is going really well. So the idea, the big long term goal of it is to help people improve their writing and creativity. And it's essentially you can every day you keep writing these prompts, but then every day people will be voting on them whether they like them or not. And then if people do like them, then you can then keep building on them, and they'll give you feedback so you can like, comment, share, whatever. But then you could like say encore it, which would then mean that someone would then like keep building like the next chapter of the story. So one of the things that are messed up in the publishing industry is that you write the whole book, and then you go to a publisher, and then you say, "Here's my book," and then they only read the first page or two. And they decide if the book is good based on the first page or two. It's so messed up because you've written the whole book, but they won't accept the book until you've written it. But they won't read the book, but then you've written this is the mess. So then why write the first page or two, get feedback to whether it's good or not, and then keep building it, and if people like it. And then the other thing is like the best writers in the world, J.K. Rowling, like all of those ones, they've all been denied by like 50, 60 publishers, but the public love it. So why not decide instead of the publishers? Like let the public decide. And that's the idea of the app. And so far, it seems to be taking off, and it seems to be going all in the right direction. So quite exciting.
That's cool. Have you can you share numbers on like users or any sort of metrics around that, or
Is that?
Yeah, sure. So we have so like I say, only launched like 2 months ago. So at the minute, and that's like super basic. So you can't pretty much do any of the stuff I just talked about there. All you could do is submit that you get the prompt. Every user gets the same one. You submit the prompt, and it's saved on your device. Well, saved, and you can see your writings. And that was pretty much it. You can now see other people's writings, but you can't interact with them and do all sorts. We're just building as we go. But we also already have about 600 users.
Awesome.
I have about 10% of those are active on a daily basis.
Amazing.
So yeah, pretty much most days everyone's coming back, which is really cool. And then every day, I think we get between around 200 writings are currently being submitted every month, I think. Somewhere around. That's really cool. It's interesting. And this kind of like comes down to like my last 10 years of work kind of coming together. You know, like when the pieces start to fall together. So like the whole point of like the distribution thing like this has the distribution. I know how to distribute it through Cuvva. Know how to build the product, and now it's like it's so frustrating in life that you have to go through so much crap to kind of get somewhere. But then when it starts to fall into place, it's quite nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your how are you sort of getting those users? What's your distribution strategy around that, and how are you planning to grow that user base?
Yeah, sure. So the current thinking is well, we can directly advertise those people in the writing prompts channel in Reddit. So we're like, we have this product for you. It's a lot better than where you are. Come to us. So we're spending like $4 or $5 a day on that, and that seems to be creating a lot of interest. And then that's all we're doing at the minute.
Yep.
We're not pushing it hard until we've got like a fully featured app.
Yep.
But then it will be more focused around the user-generated content within the app and the social side of the app. Because in theory, it'll be fairly social.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's a great project, and it's also a great point that you made that all those things in the past that at the time might have seemed like failures, they're all kind of, when you look back, they're actually kind of preparing you or like teaching you lessons that you can then apply in future projects, which just sounds like what's happening now. So it's a good reminder for people if you're trying things and they're not working out, just remember that those skills are probably going to help you in the future. So it's not a waste of time by any means.
It's such a true thing. Like a lot of people get frustrated. They're like, well, social media is just like pumping everyone with like instant gratification, and
Yeah.
like everyone's like, oh, it's so quick, and you got all these fraudsters basically saying how easy things are, and it'd be so easy to get caught up in that and to realize like this actually does take time. Like, there's a reason why most people fail. Like, when we're saying most, that's pretty much all of them do. It's so hard to like have the skills necessary or to at least get like acquire those skills through like hiring people, that it just takes time and effort, and it's like it is a long slog and you have to push through. But like if you're like, what am I, like 26 now, like that's still like super young, super
Yep.
young. Like Gary Vaynerchuk, so like the one of the world's best marketers essentially, he always says, which I love, it's like everyone's like, oh, I want to be like you and la la la, and like they're like 22 years old and they're like, I'm gonna give up. I've tried it for 4 years, and he's like, what the fuck? Like, you didn't know me until I was 30. Like, you can't find a scrape of any evidence of him existing until he was 30. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So it's like, if I do something for 4 more years and do absolutely suck at it, like I'm still where like before I even knew he existed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
It makes like yeah, like really think things through and like just be less patient. Like, you know, like same with everyone. Like any great entrepreneur, like everyone loves to point out the people that hit it at the age of like 16 or 18. But they're like the 0.1% of the 1%. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. You never hear about the other 10,000 that just crashed and burned and ended up in their mum's basement.
Exactly. And also the ones that did make it and like didn't do it until they were like 50, like Dyson, you know, like the Hoover guy,
Yeah.
multi-billionaire now. He didn't invent that till he was in his 50s. Like,
Yep.
that's crazy. Like, he had so many failed businesses in 30, and when he was well, 20, 30, 40. It's like the fact that he went through all of that and kept going was like nuts. Just
Yep.
nuts. Like, I don't think I could do that. I'm like, this has to be the one now. Like,
Yeah.
just so impatient, so it's tough.
No, I get it. And yeah, it's a good reminder because on the one hand, like as you said before, like you've got one life and sometimes it does seem short and you want to make the most of it, but on the other hand, you got to realize that things do take time and you do have to be patient, and in a way you have more time than you think, so don't expect everything has to work out right away. I think that's a good message.
Yeah, I think people yeah, accept the journey. Just it's tough. It depends on what that journey is, I guess. Like, if I think it's nicer. Well, I'm always going to say that because I don't know, but like it's nice if you know what you really want. So, for example, if it's, you know, you want to be a musician, like that means you need to play music. Like, that means like if you're like being a mechanic, that's clearly the wrong thing. Like, just to like narrow down like what it is you want when you're in entrepreneurship or something, and you just want to build a business. That business could be anything. That's very broad.
Yeah.
But so it's just, but like as long as you're working towards it, that is the main thing. And if it's something that you love, then you're still working towards it. So you kind of like just embrace the journey, because yeah, you just kind of just got to accept it, because likelihood is you will never succeed, but you're gonna try your fucking hardest. So Like, um, so like you're gonna work on it like you are succeeding, but you're probably not. But then just keep going. But if it's something that you love anyway, then it doesn't really matter if you know, quote unquote succeed, because well, at the end of the day, you're doing what you wanted to do.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. It's it's a bad idea to focus on that end goal. It's better to just focus on what you actually want to be doing day to day, because your day to day life is what ends up being your end goal in your life. So it's better to focus on that, I think.
Yeah, because you'll never like make it. Like it always changes,
Yeah.
and like it's like even like anyone, it's like even when you hit a billion, like those tiny percentage of people, they don't stop there because they've not made it. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's just nuts. Like hey, it's just never ending. So you just gotta set down. I think that's one of the main things behind all my burnouts that I had previously. Was the fact that I was always looking for it, and that wasn't defined, and I didn't really enjoy it.
Mm,
Whereas now I'm starting to appreciate everything along the way, and so like I said to the co-founder of this new app, like we have to like celebrate every tiny success, like
mm,
every bit. So like every day, it's like yeah, it's not a business, you're not doing it full time, whatever. But we just had the best day ever yesterday, for example, or we just hit 1,000 users. You know, like any tiny thing, just
yeah.
be like, fuck, we did it. Like we did it. You know, like
Yeah.
that, and then you just kind of build on that, and you get that momentum instead of just burning out, thinking, fuck, like why isn't this making me millions or whatever it is that you want to do with it?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's just enjoy the journey along the way, because, and then I think that's interesting that you just said that the burnout is probably in large part due to the fact that you were sort of focusing on the end goal rather than the journey. So I think it's a good takeaway from your experience. So what's coming up next for you, Ryan? I'm sort of coming up to the on time here for the show, but I'm just curious what you're up to for the rest of 2019. We're sort of through the first quarter of the year. You've obviously got a bit of stuff going on with Cuvva, growing that at a crazy rate, as you mentioned before. You've got Daily Prompt and some of your other projects. So, any thoughts on what's coming up for you for the rest of the year?
Yeah, sure. Oh, got them written down. Yeah. So like I say, not burn out. Number one.
Yeah.
Um, the focus this year is to. I want. I do still want to stay at cover. So that's that focus there is to push the challenges and just see how you can keep scaling that and how you know you feel like you've done a great job getting it to 60 people, but like how do you get it to 200 people?
Yeah.
So it's uncovering the challenges there and like how that dynamic works and how the company culture stays the same.
Mm,
Daily prompt, I want to get that to a point of monetization by the end of this year. Um, Not like great if I get on a sole income, but the more of just having a product that people are willing to pay for to validate the idea, to then like be able to really go at it for next year. So like the idea validation is 2019.
mm,
Um, and then yeah, and then just actually learn how to enjoy the day-to-day stuff, like the not burning out stuff. The how do you go on enough holidays or get time away and just fit everything else in the middle. And just trying to work out my own thing there is, like I say, just balance on life and yeah, and just keep doing that because it's nice when you can get it right. Like it's so
mm.
nice anyone has it right. You're like, I'm on top of the world, and then you're like, why am I on top of the world? And you're like, well, probably because what's important to you, you did all of them. And
Yeah.
that's just keep staying in check with the 2019 and not have like crazy goals because I've had that for the last 10 years, and I'm like, well, let's just chill it out a little bit this year.
Makes sense. That's a cool point as well. I think to when you're feeling good and when you feel like everything's going well, actually like consciously make a note of what's actually why am I feeling that way or what's going on in my life that's sort of causing me to feel this way. That's something I've tried to do lately because it can be inconsistent. Like some days you feel great, sometimes some days you don't. But if you can start to work out what are the individual factors that contribute towards that, it's good to make a note of that.
Yeah, I'd say just as a last note on that that would be like my biggest thing that I've learned probably in the last 10 years is like just know what that is that makes you happy, because you are happy or sad for a set reason, obviously makes sense, but just consciously understand what that is, whether that's through journaling, whether that's through just writing down notes, like whatever it is that how you process it. Just note down like why the hell am I unhappy now? Because I didn't know for years, and then I just wrote down a list of the 5 things, and then within 2 months I was like, oh shit, it's because I neglected family, or I neglected a relationship, or I neglected my health, and it's literally that simple. And so just work out what you are neglecting, and then it's probably that simple for you too.
I love it. Work out what makes you happy and actually take note of that. It's a good advice. So last question is just, what's the best way for people to connect with you, Ryan? If people want to check out Daily Prompt, or they just want to follow what you're up to, or what do you think is the best way if someone wants to get in touch and say thanks for coming on the show?
Nice, yeah, thanks. So the easiest way would be through Instagram, and my handle is the.fitness.hippie. Hippie spelled HIPPIE. Or if you're interested in Daily Prompt, just whack that into the App Store on iOS. Daily Prompt, and have a play around, and you can connect for us through the app, and it'd be great to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ryan. He basically had a bunch of different businesses, tried a bunch of different things. He's now working at Cuvva, which is an insurtech startup in London, learning a lot from them. Also working on his own side projects. Daily Prompt is the main one at the moment. Looking on growing that user base and potentially monetizing that in 2020. But yeah, always up to big things, Ryan. You're always doing a lot of different stuff, so it's cool to see your journey, and thanks for coming on here today and sharing it with us. So thank you so much for your time.
No worries, James. Appreciate it, and thanks for having me on the show.